Hello, my friends, and welcome back to episode 17 of the Second Age Show. And blimey, it has been 17 episodes. It's quite amazing in itself. But firstly, we are joined by Kyle. Hello, my friend.
Hey man, yeah, 17 times too many if you ask me.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Aw.
Oh, joking. I'm
oh,
100% joking.
Yeah, of course, of
sure,
course, of course. But anyways, we also have Lakitia here today. Hello, my friend.
hey, great to be back here with you guys.
Indeed, and there is some excitement around today's
Of course.
episode. And
Mm,
what I think today is going to be quite a lot of speculation, but we do have not admittedly lots of different reveals, but a reveal that does maybe some answer some questions, but then raise a few more, and there'll be quite a lot of discussion around it. But firstly, today's video, the structure, we have got those few reveals, and then we have got another separate reveal, which is around the biggest, well, we know the most famous person that has been on set so far. So we're going to be revealing that as well, and it is, I think, an interesting addition, an interesting reveal in itself that we can discuss it in today's episode, due to the nature of the person and what they do. So there we go. But and then at the end I will give a channel update. So I think that just about covers everything. I think this is probably one of the shorter episodes anyways. So as you can tell, it's all around the mid-second age, this one. And we think Isildur at the same time, we got all the other stuff. How is it now we're talking about the mid-second age? Because we're going to probably be discussing stuff about flashbacks, potential time compression, and um that could be a possibility, or a prologue scene as well. Maybe this is in the prologue. So we're going to be discussing all that today. But I think, guys, without further ado, should we just get right into it? The first thing is that the filming of the making of the rings is filmed in a very cool rocky chamber. So this, we don't know which rings are being forged. We don't know if it's the elven rings, dwarven rings, or even the one ring itself. But I think how a rocky chamber, what could that possibly connotate?
yeah, that's to me that's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily picture a rocky chamber in a Region, right? That to me sounds more Mount Doomy maybe, but yeah, it's interesting. I guess it's kind of still in line with Peter Jackson's forging little scene there.
But Lakitia, this does kind of confirm that we'll be getting parts of the mid-second age in Celebrimbor's story in this show.
Yeah. I'm really, really happy about that. I think I've gone. I think I've talked about this quite a lot. The forging is one of the most interesting, bits of the second age for me, and I'm really happy to see it. So, given that we've already seen a tiny flashback of the forging of the rings in the prologue to the Fellowship of the Ring, it would make sense that they wouldn't just show another few short clips of the event. So I'm really hoping we get to see the full narrative around the forging. So I still haven't completely lost hope that we'll see like a full season's worth of episodes centering on the forging, but the prologue is looking most likely.
And I think we will get into that discussion because what we
Mm-hmm.
don't know here is where this will be in season one. We have no idea right now, no confirmations, not even any real speculation with a bit of like you being led on that this something could be the scenario. We're not even that. So, but it is
Mm.
nice to know that we will be seeing the filming of the rings in a very cool rocky chamber. And I think, Kyle, I'm thinking the main thing we should get from here is what rings do you think? Actually, if we are seeing a scenario of a rings being forged, does that mean we'll see all of the rings being forged then? Do you think this is like a knock-on effect?
Yeah, I think it's possible. We know that there are going to be dwarves in the show, so I think we could see the forging of the dwarven rings, the elven rings, and maybe even the nine rings as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think actually it says making of the rings, so plural
Mm.
in this case, but we can't. But it could be a making of the ring of rings, but it's just the filming of the making of the ring scene. So I think that's
Mm.
the how it's been phrased there. So I don't think it saying rings with the S can lead one way or the other. But I think this is a good time to get into the speculation part. What way should they do it? And Lakiti, do you want to start off?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you ask me what way I'd want them to do it, I'd like full 3 seasons centered around the forging and the subsequent war of the elves and Sauron. What I think they will do is, I'm thinking they will cover the forging within the 2 pilot episodes. Given that we know that most likely Galadriel's backstory will be shown in the prologue episodes as well, I'd say there will be some time allotted for that, for the first stage stuff. And then my guess is that the bulk of the second episode would be centered around the forging, potentially, and the war of elves and Sauron. That's the way I see them doing it, and then having a time jump from the third episode onto the late second age. That's the way I'd see it. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I agree with all of what you said. I'd really love to see. I'd love to see a full season around the forging of the rings and
Yes.
the sacking of Eregion
Yes,
and
please.
all that stuff. It's powerful stuff. I get why we wouldn't necessarily start there. I get that there's a direct link between the late second age and the third age, and so it makes sense to go that way. But it does make me wonder certainly how much the presence of Celebrimbor and the forging era indicates how much of that we'll see. Will we see Celebrimbor's backstory? In the first stage with Dagor Bragollach or like Nargothrond or Gondolin, right? Because he's gone through all of that. So I do wonder how much of his first age story we'll see, and how much of his second age story we'll see, because we know it's quite a tragic end for him as well.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if he is to appear in the prologue episodes only, then I'd really doubt they'd go delving deep into his backstory. Because, it doesn't really matter if we only see him for an episode, then, of course, he's important for that episode. He's got a big role within the forging. But I don't think they'd go showing any flashbacks to Nargothrond or anything. Even though it could be interesting, especially given the fact that most likely Finrod could appear in the show as well. So it kind of would make sense to see both of them in Nargothrond. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe they'll try.
Or Dreth.
Yeah, or Dreth potentially, indeed. But yeah, maybe they could see some flashbacks to his, I don't know, relationship with Galadriel. I mean, relationship.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. Yeah,
that could be. And we know that we're going to see some of her flashbacks anyway, so I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think in any case, what I think they will do, since we're probably having Isildur from episode 3 on, I think they will be condensing the forging into the first 2 pilot episodes. Now, of course, the third option is have them condense the timelines, or potentially do the parallel timelines thingy. In which case we could get to see the forging happening simultaneously to, the events of the late second age.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Actually, now that you mentioned that, it'll be interesting to see how they handle Anatar in Eregion versus Sauron in Numenor, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, but that would be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do the condensed timelines, that could work. So you first have Anatar, just with the whole forging thing, and then later on he gets captured by Numenorians and taken back to Numenor. But if you had the parallel timelines, that would be just a mess, wouldn't it? Like you would
tricky.
It would be so tricky, because at the same time you would have Anatar with Celebrimbor, just doing their ringy stuff, drinking lattes and stuff, and then at the same time you would have Sauron corrupting Ar-Pharazôn back in Numenor. So that would be pretty confusing for the audience. So I really doubt.
Yeah, you'd have to have him in different forms, I think, right?
Oh, I don't know if different forms would be necessary, but it would be really weird seeing him being all, the the good guy that he was pretending to be when he was playing the part of Anatar, and then at the same time being the person we know is very corrupted and already started several wars against the elves and Numenorians. So I don't think that would be too successful. But if they do condense timelines, I suppose that could work.
It's a lot of condensing.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. It's just, several thousand years.
But
Yeah.
again, I guess the less we see of Celebrimbor here, the more potential we have for maybe a spin-off. Mid-second age.
Um,
Yeah,
and I think as we are on the lines with Celebrimbor, I think the next thing to put in here is that the next exclusive is that Celebrimbor is definitely involved in season one at some point, and that's interesting that there has been a heavy correlation between props and the character of Celebrimbor. What do you think that could potentially signify?
well, props sound like there could be certain rings involved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. As for me, this makes me really happy. I don't think I ever expected them to fully ignore a Celebrimbor's storyline.
Pretty epic. Like it's an epic story, right?
Yeah, it's an epic story. Oh, but
And
also,
it's detrimental to Sauron's plans in Middle Earth too, right? So I think it's important.
yeah, but also, Sauron. Now that we've mentioned props and stuff, there is a certain prop that's very tightly connected to Celebrimbor, which is the Celebanner.
Oh
The
my
way
gosh, yeah.
the way Celebrimbor,
Calibanner.
yeah, he kind of ends up on a banner.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be the prop that's connected to him. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. It's like I said, it implicates Sauron's absolute destruction of Eregion and that war between the elves and Sauron and
Yeah,
the being saved by Numenor and that's there's a lot going on there really.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in a in an age where there's so much death and destruction also going on and so many gruesome things. I mean, the downfall
It's
of
dark.
Numenor is a pretty
Yeah.
dark thing.
Yeah.
And I think out of everything that we see in the second age, Celebrimbor's ultimate fate, for me, that's the most tragic thing, and that's the most
It is.
powerful visual.
Yeah, I agree. It's I've said before, I've compared his kind of character arc to a Ned Stark, right? In a way.
Yeah.
And I
Totally.
think it's a powerful thing to miss, if it
Yeah.
isn't given its due justice, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you just do it like in a few short scenes, seeing him on a banner is just like, okay, this is disgusting, but I don't really
Yeah.
care. Whereas if you get to see his full arc fleshed out, that's powerful stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think this raises the wider thing of how will we see the War of the Elves and Sauron in this show now? Will that be in the prologue? Will they just spend probably 5-10 minutes showing the war in the second episode, do you think? Or do you think maybe throughout the season we will be seeing war scenes that just go back to the past? Like, for example, Elrond was at the battle. His contingent came late. Maybe he's recalling it. Do you think something like that? Because I want to maybe see the more the flashback scenes. Do you think that could possibly work in any way?
I think having Elrond recalling the war would be very, very reminiscent to what we see in Fellowship of the Ring. I don't think I'd like to have that certain theme repeated again.
Right.
And I don't think that if we have the 2 pilot episodes, I don't think a big part of those 2 pilot episodes will be centered around the war itself. Maybe half an hour out of all those. I think it's about 3 hours altogether. But I wouldn't expect them to show much more than that, because this is mainly setting the stage. And if you're setting the stage, you need to get to know the characters, you need to know the events around the forging, and just fighting in and of itself isn't that interesting, I think, for that purpose.
There's also the relationship between, Celebrimbor and Narvi and Celebrimbor and
Ooh,
Durin and, the doors of Durin, are we going to see the creation of that? Like, there's a lot that goes on at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. And I think if we're going to go with the idea that it is going to be maybe episode 1 or episode 2, and it's going to be extended rather than a backstory or flashback, I keep saying backstory, a flashback scene, you get Jay Bierner on Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, these massive blockbusters. Yeah, I think he did The Impossible. where it
Oh,
had
that's true.
Naomi. Is it Naomi Watts and Tom Holland? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it had Ewan
Yeah, and
McGregor.
Ewan
Yeah,
McGregor.
yeah. There
Exactly.
we go. And then you've got another movie I watched of his, which is Monster Calls. Really, really,
Mhm.
it's dark, but it's really,
Hmm.
really good storytelling. And I
Yeah.
think, all due respect to Wayne Yip and Charlotte Bransom, yes, you can give them the other episodes, but then for the big spectacle moments, the Calibrimbo potentially maybe on a banner, the Forging of the
Mm.
One Rings. That is why the 2 pilot episodes have been given to JB Owner so he can really flesh out and make them massive moments and spectacle moments, as I said. Do you think there's a relationship there?
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the main reasons why they got J.A. Bayona was to have him set the tone for the whole show. He's got a very distinct directing style, and I think they might use that to help them flesh out the whole visual and narrative direction the show is going to take.
I think
So
it's
yeah, I don't think
actually
it's a
sorry.
coincidence. No, go ahead. I'm
I
done.
th- I I think I was just gonna say I think it's actually so that they can put a T-Rex in Linden. That's why.
Oh my god.
Oh wow. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
that's my
Maybe not
thoughts.
so much.
My hot take. My hot take for today.
Okay, okay.
I I think a Velociraptor maybe in something
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
or no,
That's a
I
good
think no,
option.
the massive T-Rex is being in Khazad-dûm locked up. Maybe they're the nameless things at the bottom.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just
That's
got
that's it.
you'll
That's it.
see.
I did not expect to be discussing dinosaurs on today's episode, I must
Well,
confess.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Dinosaurs and meteors is so random things. But anyways,
Oh.
but
Hey, wait
anyways,
there.
I think it's a funny thing because meteors kill the
Mm.
dinosaurs. Okay, but so
So sneaky.
yeah, so I think overall this is really shaping up to either be time compression, a lot of
Mm.
flashbacks, or I think something along the lines of a prologue episode or episodes which covers this. But I'm sure the first thing people said when they heard Ninja Sealdor, we aren't getting the mid-secondary, that's sad thing. And of course, we were sad. It took us, luckily, the reason we're not like,
Yes.
oh,
Very sad.
like the reason we're
Mm.
not going, like, when we, some people were saying, why aren't you guys disappointed, sounding disappointed in
Mm.
the episode? Remember, we've had 3-4 months to get over this, where we've gone past the
And
stage
we're
that,
still, well, not all of us.
you know, all of us, but
I'm not over it.
yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
sure
No,
we'll,
I think it's a when you're expecting one thing and then
Yeah.
it's another thing. I think I got over it. I'm
Yes,
I'm quite excited
Okay.
about it just
I
personally.
I actually blame Hen because
oh,
he's been
Mm.
very
It's
outspoken about
Hen's
his.
fault. Yeah,
It's
it's Hen's
absolutely
fault.
Hen's
Yep.
fault. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
He
I agree.
manipulated all of us into thinking it's gonna be the
That's
forging.
right.
So
That's
blame
right.
it all on Hen.
Yep. It's
yeah.
Hen's fault.
But as
100%.
he would say, it costs me nothing to be proven wrong. So, but yeah, but of course it does make sense with the synopsis said great powers forged. Maybe that is referring to the great powers are still technically being forged in the show,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for probably 10 minutes, and probably
Right.
But I
I don't know.
think
There could be other things forged. Like
yep,
we don't know what they're doing with the story, right? We'll see.
yep, and
You know, it's not
Oh.
like the Gwaithimir don't exist, right? Like it's still a thing.
Yeah, and this is. Can I just say that the Gwaithimir are one of the things I'm most excited to see if we do get a fleshed out forging narrative. So I really want to see them, the guild, Celebrimbor himself. I really want to get to know the whole Celebrimbor Anatar dynamic. So this is really good news in my in my view.
and yeah, I think that is a possibility. But to just wrap up this part, this is probably going to be a crazy speculation. So okay, so everybody, buckle up. This is nothing. I know I've recently I've said stuff, and then I've seen it other players saying Flesh fans said this, so it must be. This is, trust me, I've heard nothing of the sort, but I want to try. I've been thinking about it and tried to put a scenario together where you have the mid and late second age. So we've been hearing. So this just say us off. I'm getting really protective around this. This is speculation. I've heard none of this. Okay, that did sound quite sarcastic. I promise. Okay, I don't want to dig myself a hole here. So but okay, let's get into it. Time compression. we've been hearing rumors around the Numenorians coming Middle-earth to fight off, and now we've seen this Sauron who's at this village set or whatever, but then we've also got this Adar figure who wasn't there for the battle scenes. Maybe in Middle-earth at this time we are seeing the War of the Elves and Sauron, and then that means we also are going to see a Celebrimbor, and then the Numenorians at this point are the late second age. So we've got Isildur instead of Tarminastir and everyone. Instead of course, you had back then Telperion and Calumet. This time we've got Miriel, and I think, and then that means you could still see it together. Is that a bit crazy?
No, not. I don't think at all. I've thought of that myself, and I don't hate the idea. Personally, I'm interested to know what Lakitia thinks.
I think this would be some really weird pacing, because if you already have the War of Elves and Sauron by the middle of the season, that would mean that we would get the forging within the first episode, and like the forging of the rings and just getting to know Celebrimbor and Anatar, and then having Anatar betray Celebrimbor. So I think that would be some really weird pacing. I could see them doing that within 1 or 2 episodes, like the prologue thing, where you just have like a movie style narrative. But if you try to prolong it throughout the whole season, then I think having the War of Elves and Sauron in the later half of the season is just some really odd pacing. I don't know.
I think that's a really good point. I think that does disprove a lot of what I said, because if you do want to flesh out narrative, then each episode is going to be a landmark thing. Each time he has to be in Lindon, then he has to forge sponsor rings. Second set, third set, and so forth.
And then there's the whole thing about, with Mordor and having Sauron in Numenor and having Anatar in Eregion, and there's a lot going on there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was
interesting thought, though. It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, it is a really interesting thought. And maybe we'll have
Sauron
cloning himself and being like 3 places at the same time. I'm joking.
Oh no.
We'll just have to wait and see. So on to the next bit. So we talked about we have been able to find out who the most famous person who was on set, but visiting set, not actually, but the most famous person that visited Lord of the Rings during filming for season 1, and that person.
Spoiler alert! It's not Fellowship.
Oh, yeah. I think
other than Fellowship.
I think I've probably got restraining order now for that country. Getting to New Zealand, but it was indeed Neil Gaiman. So Neil Gaiman was on sets around June and near the end of filming, and had a tour around sets, and it was especially on the Numenorian sets for quite a while. Well, not quite a while, but visiting them and watched some stuff as well. So that's quite interesting. I think the reason, like, even brought up to discuss that near the end, is that I think, how does Neil Gaiman rank in all these fantasy, or not in fantasy, but like other worldly like authors? Fiction. I don't know why that left me, but so do you think that's quite an interesting thing?
I certainly do. I mean, Neil Gaiman is one of the most prolific fantasy authors at the moment, and has been for the past 20 years or so. He's also got another of his adaptations in the making as we speak. So that this is big, and I wonder if if this was just a case of him visiting New Zealand and stopping by.
I think so, yeah.
But I think it must have been. But in any case, I really hope he's got a juicy cameo. That would be fun.
That's an idea. That would be fun. That would be fun.
And I think, is this sort of stuff common? Because it seems logical that an author.
You're sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that it's logical that an author should visit the set of his own adaptation, or like it was in the case of Brandon Sanderson, who visited the set of The Wheel of Time, which is a book series he wrote the last 3 books, if I'm not mistaken, 4. But Gaiman doesn't seem to have much to do with Lord of the Rings, so.
No, he's obviously highly influenced by Tolkien, as is everyone. But I think I would think it's more the fact that he has some of his work in production right now. I think it's probably more linked to that than anything else.
And I think Sorry if I come in quickly, Kitty. I think he did put out a tweet. I've forgotten what it says on the tweet because I don't have it in front of me. Something around
Mm.
him watching, not watching something, or have people speaks. I think something around like that, like people
Yeah,
spread
I
stuff.
think he said something like he hadn't seen anything, but that people talk or
Well,
something like
maybe
that.
that's not true. That was the
Yeah,
case. If he
yeah.
said that.
Well, I mean, he couldn't say that he was there, obviously. So
Oh yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
maybe we've done him a nice thing because he probably does really want to say it. But then of course the Amazon, and then now we have
yeah,
put it out. So that's an
yeah.
interesting thing.
Okay.
You don't sound
I
too. Gle-
No, no, for me, I'm just puzzled. I think it's just a
mm,
random visit, to be honest.
yeah, it
mm-hmm,
is.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it would make more sense if we had somebody like Guy Gabriel Kay visiting the sets. I mean, he
Mm,
did help Christopher Tolkien edit the Silmarillion,
mm-hmm.
but Neil Gaiman is just really out there, so I think it must have been something pretty casual.
I think
It's
interestingly
cool.
as
It's
well.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
what's going to be looked forward to is probably the behind the scenes videos that will come out next year with Neil Gaiman
Ooh.
on set and scene filming of of all the Numenorian stuff and all the other sets as well. So yeah, that's just a nice little thing. Of course,
It's been really exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot. I have to confirm this as well. He's not working on the show in any way, shape, or form.
Oh,
I don't want this to get twisted up. I can really easily
Mm.
see how this does get twisted up. So yeah,
yeah. Oh, but maybe there could be a connection because I think in his latest show that's coming out, they've cast Charles Dance. So,
ooh, that's the Netflix
Mm.
though one, right?
yeah, I
Oh,
I think
sorry to
so.
put your thing down. I'm sorry to.
No worries whatsoever. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of Charles Dance. So
Can we
please
see him
make it
in
happen,
Middle Earth
Amazon.
sometime?
Yeah,
Yeah,
please, please. I mean,
yeah,
he's already in Sandman. He's been in Game of Thrones. He's clearly not opposed to fantasy.
yeah. He's
Please
so
hire
great too.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can be Tarmiriel for all I'm
Oh,
concerned. Just have
Yeah,
him.
or
why not?
maybe
Why not?
Gaiman as Palante.
Ooh.
Okay,
Oh,
okay, I don't.
He's
interesting.
not
You need
he's
to stop
not
that. No.
that old.
Yeah, I
No,
don't think you should
yeah.
stop saying stuff like that because that is actually going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah. We're just, fooling
um.
around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason that we're going to go on to final thing around the channel update. So we put a tweet out earlier this week around me stepping down from all the social media things, and of course I know it might have sounded like, oh, I'm struggling, or I can't cope with the media thing. It's nothing got to do that. I'm like, mental health is fine, everything. I saw some people say that, so that's all good. But yeah, but all the media accounts now, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, all will be run by a team, and I think a dedicated team, which will I think carry it on in a real good way, even though I'm not tweeting myself. So that's all the end of things. But that was a precautionary measure because I'm also going to announce that I'm partly stepping down from all roles at Fellowship of Fans for a certain period of time, and it's not going to be forever or for a long time. It's going to be just, I think, long enough that I can like announce it in that sense. So longer than when I was gone, when I was back in May. And of course, I know this just sound quite abrupt, but I think it's more of a sense of I have to leave for this certain period of time rather than I want to, because I would love to continue doing this for the next few months or the next year, but but yeah, that of course can't be the case as of right now. And I think the thing here is that the difference here is that the YouTube channel, everything will still continue. There will still be the second aid show each week. There still will be Council of Fan podcast episodes, but just without me in them. So that's the only difference you are going to see. Each Carl and Likit will still be here every single week giving you leaks. None of the leaks will stop. Rumors, nothing will stop. Just for my short absence, it will just not have me in it. But I have still pre-recorded, I think, a few videos, so which I can upload. This discussion videos like I have done recently around the Amazon show, etc. So that is that. But of course, this would be goodbye for Partly. I just want to say that I've always wanted Fellowship of Fans just to be an entity that created excitement and buzz around this Amazon show, and especially during the period where Amazon were silent and of course are still are right now. And I just think the fun, real fun, just each week discussing rumors, leaks, just around the show, making sure that there is still engagement from the core Tolkien fans, which maybe before we started was starting to dwindle a bit as well, just a little bit due to the lack of news. And I just think just doing this show as well for 17 episodes, week after week, basically. I know there's been a few short breaks in between, but I just want to say that I do love doing what I do, and I think it's a real privilege being in this position where I've got each week X amount of people watching, and probably the whole community watching and wanting to find out the latest rumours around the show. And boy, have we released some crazy stuff. Like Isildur, we have got, of course, all the way back to last year. We have those set pictures, we have the showrunners and everything around that, and it is
the composers.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, we didn't release the showrunners.
No.
So yeah, just around that. So I just feel that it's been a massive privilege being able to do Fellowship of Fans and give you guys the latest news around the show. And I just think I want to give a big thank you to the viewers who have supported the channel for so long and just tuning into live premieres afterwards and just continuing the debate around the show. I really appreciate the support we have received. And also, I want to say, I know this sounds a bit weird, but also thank you to Amazon in some ways, who, even though they are of course quite tough, it's their $1 billion show, they probably don't prefer stuff like this coming out. But I think from the fact that this has gone 17 episodes, they have been able, I think, they have never tried to prohibit us or restrict us from doing this stuff. They know that, of course, if we do release Isildur or something big, of course it would probably reach a wide fandom and beyond, but it's nothing like it will be on massive articles the next day. And I think just allowing fan discussion and just us theorizing around the time that there is nothing around the show, I think we really appreciate that. And I do think the people working behind the show, whether that do be the showrunners this time or even the marketing team, I think they do care about it, and I think this show will be great. And of course, this is not goodbye forever, it isn't, but I will be back at some point in the near future, but I'll be gone for long enough that I would warrant a goodbye message like this. So yep, that's around it. So everything will still continue. I still have pre-recorded some videos, but of course I think some people have recently been noticing that I've been saying in September, which was about 2 weeks ago in November, so they can be told that some videos have been pre-recorded, but I have left it, but luckily, unlike May, I've left it in the hands of just incredible people as well, who I know will in my absence continue to do the best thing. And of course, two of them being here, Carl Lakitia, so special thank you for that, and just of course there's other people working behind the scenes, and of course, and just appearing on the podcast as well, and like Ken, we got Penguin, we got Talking to, we got Nikki, of course, all the appreciate the support I've had from others like Varking as well. And of course, I don't start naming if I miss anyone out now, but for example, even the Tolkien debate show, Florian, Lexi, Imzo, I just think is really nice to be able to be in a position where you can continue without and just not being there, but Fellowship of Fans just continue. So this is I have forgotten the Bulbo quote off the top of my head, but this isn't goodbye forever, just for now. So yeah, and also by next week we will have a new presenter replacing me for this show, and we will be announcing that in the next few days. And he, I've given away now to he, but they will be I think it will be a worthy replacement. So yeah, I think that's just about it. So I think do you guys want to add anything to add around today's rumors or news, anything before we wrap up?
I think you've done a great job of saying everything we wanted to say, and we're really looking forward to having you back as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Oh, we've said indeed at the same time. That's amazing. But I know you
Oh.
two will especially be continuing it on this show. So, but yes, I will be back in the future. I think it'll be nice to be back, but this will be goodbye for now. So, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Until the next time, my friends. Goodbye.
I mean, am I safely watching this from like a
It's Titanic, except the land is the one that drowns.
pretty much in Soviet Russia, land drowns you.
What the hell was that? I'm gonna whistle in my ears.
I think I broke in.
Yeah, I think he malfunctioned.